We are here at Cats Coverage headquarters to do our first ever podcast, or our basketball podcast of Cats Courtside with my good friend Michael Epps. If you want to get to know him, he's got a lot to say about himself.
Yeah, sir. Working at Fox 56. Been here for a couple years. It's a lot of fun. Covering this team is fun. Obviously, this fan base, it's got a lot of good, passionate fans. They get heated about Mr. Calipari and the boys, so it's a lot of fun. But this year's team, man, I'm excited to talk about them. They got a lot of talent, really some growing pains, I think. So the fans, that I know you guys want another banner, you want number 9, but you're going to have to be patient with this year's group.
Tell people that don't really know you yet with our little audience. I'm sure they see you with Fox 56, but some people with us may not know who you are. Tell them about how you got into your job with Fox 56, your fandom, if you are like a true UK fan, or is it just more of a job for you? What's your thoughts with how you got connected to Kentucky?
Yeah, so I actually went to Michigan State, so I'm a Spartan through and through. So I know in the Champions Classic last year that was a little touchy subject. It was cool for me, obviously, covering Izzo when I was in school. That's kind of where my loyalty lies. But I like the Cats. I went down to Johnson City, Tennessee for a couple years to get into TV. Covered Tennessee a little bit, so I know the orange and blue don't mix too well in this fan base either.
Not at all.
And then got here a couple years ago to be the weekend sports anchor with Fox 56, and then just took the sports director job. So I'm sticking around here for a couple more years. I love this place, love Lexington, and I like the Cats, man. They got good teams, great coaches. Nick Mingione, awesome. A lot of good coaches, a lot of good people to cover here.
Perfect. And you all pretty much know about me. I'm just the founder of CatsCoverage.com. I've got a lot of people that help me. It ain't just me by any means. I've got a lot of good surrounding cats that help do the whole operation of it. So I can't not even close to take credit for the whole thing. It's not a one-man show at all. But we wanted to get things going because Big Blue Madness is this Friday.
Feels good.
What's that, like 4 days away? Today's Monday that we're recording this. This may not be out by Monday. But so it's less than 4 days when you actually see this, and it kind of snuck up on me a little bit, to be honest with you. What about you?
It did. They snuck in a little pro day for Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. All 30 NBA teams, as usual, will come to town to check out this group of talent that Calipari has. This group's going to be exciting. So Wednesday will be cool, and then Friday is obviously going to be a lot of fun.
One thing I like about the pro day is I tell people that it's more of a flex for Kentucky, to be honest with you. I mean,
it really is.
I'm pretty sure Cal was at the forefront of this. I'm pretty positive on this. He was the one that started this. There's a lot of other college basketball teams that kind of do their own pro day now. But as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure Cal was the one that started it. They don't get all NBA teams like Kentucky does. I mean, it is a flex for Cal. He's connected to everything in basketball at every level, and so it's kind of like I like it. It's like it gets even the walk-ons, even the bottom of the totem pole on the roster. They all get to go out there in front of NBA reps, and I don't know. It seems like that's Cal's bread and butter, where he wants to just flex his program, flex his team, and that's where he, I think, like makes his money in those environments.
Oh, it is. It's a good flex because you got the cameras there. The broadcast. They're going to be broadcasting it, and then you got your side documentary cameras, and these guys come here to be in a superstar atmosphere, which is what Calipari has brought to this program ever since he got here. And it's continued with the documentaries and going to Drake's mansion and all this kind of stuff, right? It's just like a constant party. So I think it's going to be fun. Big Blue Madness is going to be a party too. And
it's kind of like that mix between Pro Day and Big Blue Madness. It's like both of them do have the open practice. I know the Big Blue Madness one's more fan-centric. Mm-hmm. The one at Pro Day is more drills and measurements and things like that. But like when you think about it, it's like Kentucky has 2 essentially practices that are televised. What other school is doing that? Like, these are practices. These aren't even games with wins or losses, to be honest with you.
Not much, man. And of course, like, they're always primary. Like, if any other SEC school did this, it'd be on ESPN Plus, right? But I think they're throwing it on the SEC network. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me there. Right. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I don't think any other school would really be going on, TV like that just for a little pro day. But I think, they're going to like what they see too. I mean, these freshmen are legit. We knew right away when those first mock drafts were coming out for 2024, there's a lot of talent.
I did see in the press release today when they were talking about pro days that most years this is just SEC Network only. They, not the whole national coverage, but I mean it is SEC Network. It gets plenty of coverage. But they said this year there's an ESPN show that's going on from like 6 to 7:30, right when we're having the thing.
Yeah, Sports Center.
Yeah, Sports Center. Yeah, and they said they're going to do a couple of, what do they call them, like hits or something. I'm not in the TV world like you, but I think they said they're going to be popping in a couple of times with Seth Greenberg and someone else that aren't even there. Well, actually, no, I think they might be in. I'm not sure, but they're going to be popping in with some actual national coverage here and there. So, I mean, that can't hurt.
Yeah, and Cal's obviously got to get his airtime, right? He's going to be on some of those hits, and he'll be talking, giving a good message to the fans. But yeah, he'll definitely he likes the Sports Center time. He went, what was that? A couple months ago, he was on Sports Center. And,
he finally got back on there in the offseason. He's got more into this job, he seems to like take less and less of those, and I think he had to finally get out and get his voice out there after some frustrating consecutive postseason ends, and had to kind of put his foot down and maybe get fans hyped back up a little bit more.
Hasn't made it out the first weekend. Since 2019? Right?
It's 2020
didn't count. 21 they didn't make it. 22 was Oscar's first round loss, and then last year's second round.
One thing I like to say is
that's crazy.
It might be Cats coverage. Since we started in 2020, buddy Jordan that does the football side, we've not seen any postseason success in basketball. That last win against Providence this year was our first postseason win. Yeah. The SEC tournament's been awful in that run. For a while, I was like, man, if we make it through last postseason without another one, I think it might be us. We might have to quit the basketball side and do football or something, because this is ridiculous. But thankfully they got that win over Providence, and it's not where we're used to. But we finally got a win under our belt as the Cats coverage side. We've been paying attention to that, and so that was a little relief, to be honest with you. I thought it might have been us for a second.
Might be a little bit of with Calipari too, but I know these fans, they have their certain hot takes on Cal, but. He's here to stay, and which is clearly good because they got a good team coming in.
To segue into Big Blue Madness, it's this Friday. I selfishly can say there's nothing more that gets. Well, I mean there are, but like in terms of just a fan-centric thing, this is my 10-year-old kid inside of me coming out. In the media world, we've got to keep it together, obviously. But like I cannot easily say on the inside, I'm just like the 10-year-old kid that got into Kentucky basketball. That's where I started being a fan. That was basketball before football. Big Blue Madness will always be special to me. I just love it. You get you excited for the season, all the lights, and they have the dunk contest, and it's just we get to be up close on the court, and I don't know. For me, there's nothing better than Big Blue Madness outside of winning big time games.
Yeah, of course, it's always fun. At Michigan State, it was Midnight Madness. Okay. So yeah, I feel the love that there was a special moment. Izzo would always come out in a crazy way, like on a motorcycle or whatever. So they kind of do a similar thing. Like Kyra, we were at UK Women's Basketball Media Day today. Kyra said she's got a big thing planned for her entrance. Okay. And then, obviously the players are going to go out and swag out. So it's a lot of fun. But I think, just for the fans to see these guys, even when they just start, running and doing their little drills, I mean, you're going to notice the athleticism. You're really going to notice it on Wednesday on the broadcast. But seeing it in person, man, these guys are fast. They can run.
I as a big Blue Madness critic, someone that takes it all in and don't skip past it, it has gotten a little stale over the years. I definitely miss the Matthew Mitchell dances. There was something last year. One of those people, what was it, Coach Elsie? Somebody came from the ceiling. That was pretty cool. But other than that, it has gotten a little stale over the years. I'm still happy with it. But thinking back over the last few years, or maybe just as far back as you can remember with Big Blue Madness, what's been some of your favorite moments that you wish could be here again? Or what's your big memories of Big Blue Madness? That was pretty cool.
The dunk contest is sweet. Who didn't Kareem win it last year or something? Or he had smallest dude in the gym, basically goes out and wins the dunk contest, which was pretty cool. Toppin obviously had some fun moments. Getting Wagner in there is probably going to be pretty cool. It seems like early on he might be like one of those fan favorites that I think everybody's going to latch onto, the familiar name, the number one, overall recruit. So I think fans are going to love it seeing him. I hope he has a good moment. And, maybe Ugana will get a good block or something. And the fans will have their moments for sure.
I'm gonna miss Damian Collins. Could put on some bounces last year. He's with LSU this year. I'm gonna miss the Jacob Toppins dunks. But Kareem Watkins, he's what 5'8", 5'9". He's shorter than me. He's shorter than you too, and that man can just jump through the roof. It doesn't make sense to me how he's able to do that. He's always impressive itself just with the height difference. One thing I would look forward to is wonder if Reed Sheppard would have anything special. I wasn't alive around the Jeff Sheppard era, but I've got some clips over the years. I know he can dunk pretty well. Off of just not knowing, I don't know if there was any signature dunks that Jeff Sheppard had that maybe he can recreate. I know, not to do the whole comparison, but when Tyler Hero was here, he did the Rex Chapman dunk, put on his jersey. It was a really cool moment. At least I thought it was. I don't know anything, but I wonder if Reed Shepherd's got anything maybe in store for like a cool moment just to do that connection.
That would be sweet. Then they do a 3-point contest? Right. You're right. So Reed should probably win that. I mean, that dude can shoot the lights out. But he was fun at North Laurel. I covered some of his games in high school. Man, he can shoot. He can pass, too. I think he's going to find a lot of time on the court this year just from his court vision and setting things up with Wagner there in the backcourt.
Yeah.
And Rob Dillingham, too. I mean, they're kind of loaded back there.
So much talent. Reed Sheppard, it was clear to segue into the Canada games that we had in the Global Jam. He's going to play obviously way more than fans expected him to do. Probably when he announced his commitment, probably all the way up till he got onto campus. What we saw from him in the Global Jam was just phenomenal. I mean, I think he was cementing himself as, for those 4 games, the 6th, 7th guy. I mean, almost the first guy off the bench to run the offense. And I don't know what that will look like in terms of starting 5. I don't think he's going to start. I don't know if he'll be the first off the bench, but I think he'll for sure be in that top 7 range to be first one off the bench. He's going to play way more than fans expect. What do you think of his and just the whole team's performance up in Canada?
Yeah, I was trying to find it which one because he was solid. I think in all 4 games. It was the game against the Africa team where he went crazy. He had 28 minutes, 18 points. I think he hit some threes.
Was that that's like the 3rd or 4th game, I think.
It was the 3rd because they scored like 100, 104.
Put up some points. That's good. That's exciting. Our team's put up some points because we saw some of that last year of trying to hit that 80-point mark, and it didn't happen as much as Cal said he wanted to. If they showcase they can put up a lot of points, there's just a given excitement around a high-scoring offense. And going off of Reed Sheppard, I think that the game you're talking about.
8 assists too.
8 assists.
That's huge.
Oh yeah, because he's going to be the one that's more distributing the ball, and if he can make himself valuable off of everything outside of just scoring the ball, I think he's going to be very impactful for this team. I think he cemented that kind of status there in that game that you brought up. Yeah,
and he's going to he'll be obviously a fan favorite too. I mean, especially with the local connection. So it'll be a fun introduction for him on Friday with Big Blue Madness. But I think pretty quickly they're going to, I think they'll be able to figure it out pretty well how to handle the backcourt and handle those minutes. Cal's going to kind of ride the hot hand, right? Like he kind of always does. The front court is where I see those questions. Obviously, the injuries to Ugana and to Aaron Bradshaw, I wonder, how quickly it'll take them to get to 100%.
Yeah.
And then you got Big Z, who just came in, just got admitted last week. So he's on the roster, so he should be there Friday, right?
I feel like he will be. I don't know anything about that, but I feel like he will be. That will be a good little boost to be like, that's your first time seeing him. He's here. We've known about him for a while, but there's a lot of unknown. Everything's unknown about him. Yeah. But I think the point you just said about Aaron Bradshaw, Ugana, Nyenzo, and Big Z, I don't want to try to pronounce his name at this moment, but
Zvonimir Ivicic, I think.
There you go. I would have messed that up.
Zvonimir.
I think you can just already assume we're going to see very limited things from them at Big Blue Madness, if not completely limited. They may not do anything. I think if they're any of those 3, if they are, it would be Aaron Bradshaw. I've seen these clips they put out of him being practicing, but I don't know how easy he's going on that. So we could probably expect them 3 not to be there.
Yeah, it seemed like he ditched the boot, right? He was wearing the boot when they did that father-son basketball camp over the summer, which I covered. That was pretty cool. But he seems like he'll be ready. I don't know if Cal's going to let him shoot. Obviously, the big thing is Cal doesn't let his big shoot. So, but I think the dude can shoot. I mean, we'll see how he uses them. But there's a lot of talent that will, need to kind of gel pretty quick if they want to win that Champions Classic game.
I think one thing we can also assume as well is Antonio Reeves. That man's going to be the captain, one of the captains at least. He's going to have probably the most touches. And as we saw in the games up in Canada, he averaged over 20 a game, the most on the team, the most points scored in the entire tournament of any team. So he clearly had the veteran presence, the hot hand. He's been there, done that plenty of times. I think he's going to be that guy that they look to in the hard times. He's going to get most of the shots. I'm excited to see, is this his 5th year or is this...
I think it's fifth, yeah. It's his last year. Is this 6th?
I can't remember. I know he came from Illinois State.
I don't know if he redshirted. He just took the COVID year, so I think 5.
Either way, he's got some miles on his shoes, experience, and I'm excited what he's going to do this year. He's going to put up all kinds of points. He's going to lead this team. I think another guy that might be behind him is probably going to be DJ Wagner. I think he's going to get some points. Who do you have in that category, maybe 2nd, 3, and 4, right behind Reeves if it's not him at first?
Yeah, I mean, Reeves is going to play. I mean, he's got to play like 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, you just have to. It's crazy that if he didn't go 1 for 11 in that tournament game, he might be in the NBA. I mean, he probably would have got picked up on a G League deal, probably would have went. But, that game, crazy, because just 2 weeks earlier, he goes crazy, against Arkansas, right where he scored 37 or something.
Arkansas too.
Yeah,
that environment was nuts.
And then the game here against Auburn when they just obliterated Auburn. I can't remember what he did in that game, but he's got talent and he's got to be consistent. They need that consistent shooting on the outside. I like Wagner. I think you're probably going to see those guys on the floor the most, and then. Rob, I think, Cal, there was a weird kind of buzz after, Rob was at the Donda Academy, but then that fizzled with the whole Kanye stuff. And then, he goes and picks up another team on the, wasn't he on Overtime Elite, right?
Elite,
so,
with that crew.
Right. But then it was like, okay, he still hasn't like fully, announced that he's, excited to come here or anything. People were kind of reading into it. So now that he's here, I think, Cal's gonna have to promise him some minutes too. He's gonna have to play. It'll all work itself out. It just has to happen before SEC play.
Speaking of Rob, there's so much of there's people did just fine in Canada, but there's some players that just didn't. We haven't got to see the best of them yet because obviously it's early. So I think Rob was one of them. He had a couple of moments that were good, but I'm very confident Rob could be special here. Didn't do time, so I'm excited to see that. One thing I did want to touch on is what we've been talking about this whole time: the excessive amount of talent. We got again, we
haven't even said anything about Trey Mitchell yet. And he's representing the team with Antonio at SEC kickoff in Birmingham, or like the basketball tip-off. Starting the season. He's that guy. I mean, he proved himself to be extremely valuable. Playing a small ball 5 when the other bigs were hurt in Toronto. That dude's got talent. He's going to see 30 minutes a game too.
I can definitely say going into that, I mean, when you think about all of our big guys, if they were all healthy, I don't think Trey Mitchell, for me, would have been like, that's the guy. I don't think he would have been I did not expect him to go up in Canada and put on the show that he did. So that's another boost of excitement. It's like we've got that compared with the 5-star Aaron Bradshaw. What Big Z can be. If Ugo gets healthy, I don't know. But it's like another of like, I just pictured Trey Mitchell being that 2nd to 3rd. Like, he's going to bring the veteran presence, the experience, but not like someone that can go out there and take over a game. And he did that. I mean, it's very exciting to have him on our roster from West Virginia.
And he brings that ability to just kind of get like a smooth double-double, because like Oscar would obviously get the double-doubles, and I love Oscar, but there were times when it just felt like so forced to dump it down to him, and the offense was just so stagnant with him at times. Obviously he ate up boards, but I think the offense is going to flow pretty well with just having Trey, in that dunker spot. They say he can bounce out and shoot it. We need to see that consistently, first. But either way, he's going to run the floor and fill the lane in a way that I think will open things up for the shooters too.
Yeah, and going off Trey Mitchell, he brings a. Who doesn't love Oscar? Oscar,
legend,
even off the court. Yeah,
such a good guy.
One of the best people off the court too. And I think he brings a totally different ball game than Oscar. Oscar, we saw in that second year, he had his flaws. He was still very perfect at the things he was good at, but he had his flaws that kind of hurt the overall team. I think Trey Mitchell is just a different type of player that might more benefit the team all around compared to what Oscar did. So best luck to him, but I'm excited to see a different kind of big guy down there and see what we can do with Trey Mitchell, Aaron Bradshaw if he's healthy. And then segueing off of the number 1 recruiting class, we've got DJ Wagner, we've got Rob Dillingham, we've got Yeah, Aaron Bradshaw. Who else am I forgetting?
Justin Edwards.
Justin Edwards. I think he was a Tennessee commit at one point.
Was he?
Pretty sure. If I'm not getting it mixed up, I think he was committed to Tennessee. If he wasn't, I know it came down to them too. And then it
I think it came down to them. I remember that.
Yeah, it came down to he just picked Kentucky as kind of like a screw you, Volunteers.
Yeah, and then Reed, obviously the 5th or 4-star. The others, they got talent. Edwards, they're saying he could get drafted before any of them. He's going to be the first, as they're saying, the first guy to come off the board in the NBA draft in 24. If he can shoot as well as he did at times in Toronto, in the corner, they kind of last year's team kind of lacked that. They had it 2 years ago with Kellen Grady to just kind of throw it in the corner. And there was a time when he was like the #1 shooter, 3-point shooter in the SEC. Felt like they lacked that at times last year. So they need that shooter to just, when plays break down, just throw it to him in the corner. And obviously Edwards is a lot more than just like a corner catch and shoot guy. He has a lot more to his game, but I think that will open things up for those guards to be able to make plays off the dribble.
And it seems like every offseason, it's like we've got a top 3 recruiting class. Many of years since Cal's been here, it's been #1, #2, #1. This isn't anything new for Kentucky fans, but this #1 recruiting class just feels a little different. I mean, at least on paper, at least off what we can go off of from the Canada trip, it seems like this is truly a very talented #1 recruiting class. I mean, #1 is #1, but we've had some #1, #2 that haven't been as good as we thought they would be. It seems like, not to jinx it, but I think we have more excessive amounts of talent this year, more options, more backup that's going to be just pick up right off the bench. Going off that, do you know of any weaknesses that we have so far? Like, is there anything that sticks out to we might want to just see what happens with that? It may not be as good as I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think I just want to see who's the best guy in pick and roll offense, because you have these bigs, you have Big Z who they say can shoot, but we haven't really seen it. He has to prove it. Everyone has to prove it. Bradshaw's probably going to get the most minutes when he's healthy. You kind of have to. He's probably the most talented, but I think Trey Mitchell's probably going to be right now maybe your best role guy. I mean, and probably. We know Cal loves his pick and roll, and you just didn't feel great about it with Oscar. Oscar was a guy that, Cal would talk about back in the day, when plays broke down or when they were having a bad game, you just throw it to Julius Randle, right? I mean, just throw it to him. He'll get you buckets. When you're stuck, sometimes that's all you can resort to in the game. And that's what Oscar was. Sometimes you just threw it down, and he had that, what was that crazy rebounding game, the 27 rebounds
record.
Was it 27 and 30-something points?
I think he might have 28.
It might have been, right? And then 30-something points. Those games were nice, but you need that consistent pick and roll threat where we haven't seen a big that you can really throw the alley-oops to. You need that lob threat because Wagner's so explosive. He's going to be able to navigate that pick and roll really well. So I think maybe Trey Mitchell or Bradshaw, definitely want to see that in half-court offense because this team's going to run full court. I mean, these guys, right, they're just AAU boys. They're going to, go out and run. When they get those quick stops, quick rebounds, they're going to throw it out and run. Half-court offense has been pretty frustrating. The last 2 years I've been here in Lexington, it just blows my mind that, some of these games at Rupp that I'm covering, it's tough to watch. So if you have a consistent pick-and-roll game, then you can kick it out to Edwards in the corner. That's where the offense, I think, could take you to, Final Four level.
I didn't realize that the last 2 basketball seasons, two basketball seasons is what you've gotten to take in here.
Brutal.
That's brutal. One of the guys that helps on our site, Matt Sack, he was a student for 4 years here. I think that was from 2018 to 2022. If not, it's 2019, 2023. He went, he's told me before, thinking, he grew up Kentucky fan, all these NCAA tournament runs. It's I'm going to Kentucky. I'm going to get to be in all these big environments and follow that team to where they go. And he got, before his senior year, and he got to see one postseason win. I feel for him. I feel for you. in person taking in of Kentucky basketball has been like the bottom of the barrel, like very embarrassing. And I hate that. I hope you all get something better than what you've seen.
Yeah, I feel bad for anybody who was in school for 2020 to lose out on a year like that. I graduated in 19, but 2020 was my younger brother's freshman year in college, and he just kind of had that ripped away from him. So for him, I feel it, especially to have that weird 2020 to 2021 season where they couldn't even really figure it out. And they had a first-round pick. It was Isaiah Jackson, right? And then
people forget about that.
And then they had B.J. Boston go in the second round. Outside of that, man, that team was tough to watch. And then you get a blessing with Oscar coming in, and at least to have a fun regular season team that year with Kellen Grady and then Ty before he got hurt, Xavier. That team had talent. They just obviously St. Peter's. I hate to bring it up, but yeah, it was tough. So Cal obviously has to get out of the first weekend first and foremost, and then even more get a Final Four at least.
The point you said about Oscar, I think if we had now Tata was great, Kellen Grady was great. A bunch of them had things they brought to the table, but if we didn't get such the hidden gem, the blessing, and Oscar Tshiebwe of just more that's even off the court, just how positive he was through all the miserable times that he was here. I mean, if we hadn't got Oscar, speaking of him himself, this would have been a lot worse. He was a light in the room when there wasn't much light, even after we'd get blown out by a team. And I'm selfishly very grateful that we had Oscar here just because of the positivity he brought during the hard times.
Yeah, the fans were too. I mean, in Tampa, I remember I was down in Tampa for the SEC tournament that year, his junior year. And like the night before a game, he's just like riding on a scooter, like outside Amway Arena or whatever it was, and like just saying hi to fans and taking pictures with fans. I mean, he was a legend, and if he could have won a natty, then he probably would have got a statue out here or something. But
he got every award but that.
Right.
There's that video that went around. He's walking through the practice facility with his little cart stroller looking thing, and he's got 20 trophies on there just stacked up. It's like he wasn't flexing it. I think he was moving dorm rooms or something, but that was such a flex. I'd be rolling through that campus.
It was a flex.
Y'all see this? I would, but he's much more humble than I am.
Right. And he didn't even have to bring any of that. You just look at him; he's so recognizable. And his big smile, obviously, you could see from a mile away. But at the end of the day, man, they didn't get it done. I think this team, has an optimism about it that I think it should probably automatically be a Sweet 16 team, you would think. I mean, we'll wait to see how they, look once they get out on the floor. And as I said at the beginning, like, you can't get too worked up if there are some of these non-conference losses, because you got Kansas. That's going to be tough. I mean, Hunter Dickinson, right? Yeah. He might get buckets on you. There in Chicago, the guy that you wanted, he might go out there and beat you guys. And then you got Gonzaga, right? You got North Carolina down in Atlanta for the CBS Sports Classic, right? And then Gonzaga, and there's one more tough non-conference game that I'm forgetting.
We got Miami. I know we got Miami.
Miami,
they were in the Final Four last year.
Yeah, I think that might be it. So, it's going to take some time. And Cal said it last year, right? Like, he put out the video on Twitter, like, give us some time, be patient with us. And then it resulted in nothing. Yeah. But that was a team full of, like, upperclassmen that you expect to be able to, adjust and make things happen. And they just didn't do it. With these young guys, I think not only are they young, they'll be more willing to learn. But I think, they're going to click pretty quickly. And, by the SEC schedule, we should see them go off.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I was pretty blown away of how easily they connected up in Canada. I mean, it looked like they'd been practicing together for a whole year. I mean, they just jumped right into it and was from the jump, was pretty smooth, pretty quick. They all connected. They looked like they had a great off-the-court chemistry, with the Drake's Mansion going there. Just all the team bonding things they have. Always had that pool party at Cal's. So that's one thing I'm really not worried about this year. I think their connection and their chemistry is already here, like this early, and that kind of speaks volumes to see what's going on in practices.
Yeah, they should. I guess it would just be the Louisville game. That's obviously the other huge non-conference, which doesn't look super tough. But yeah, Kenny Payne's squad is struggling. But.
So But I guess the last part I wanted to hit on is maybe we can kind of get that way too early start in 5. I know we've got a lot of more basketball to see, but just going as of today, we've not seen Pro Day, we've not seen Big Blue Madness. Not that those really show anything in terms of starting 5, but kind of the way too early starting 5 prediction. You want me to go first, or you got?
Hey, this is you. Go ahead.
This is just off the top of my head. I've not given this a whole lot of thought, but I think we'd probably go with DJ Wagner. Probably going to have Justin Edwards in there. I'm going to go with Trey Mitchell for now, assuming Aaron Bradshaw's not ready to go for game 1, assuming that's the case. Who are my next 4th and 5th guys? I'm going to have – I'm kind of torn. I would like to early on to these non-conference and these small opponents. I selfishly would like to see Reed Shepherd in there, but I think that's going to happen? No. I think he's going to be off the bench and be that spark. I think you maybe throw Dillingham in there, see how he does. I know he maybe can get crazy sometimes if he does pull him quickly, but I think his boost of energy, maybe throw them in the starting lineup. And in terms of my last guy for the starting lineup, probably going to have to go with, I don't know.
It's got to be Reeves.
Oh, duh. Yeah, Reeves. Antonio Reeves. I knew I was forgetting somebody pretty important. He would be my lock to be the starter, the first starter that's guaranteed. Yes, I'm glad you said that. I went a little blank there. Antonio Reeves would be my first pick as a starter. So that's probably my 5 is going to be Reeves, Edwards, Wagner, selfishly Shepherd, but I don't expect that to happen, and Trey Mitchell.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun to, it would never start a game, but having some minutes with the 5 freshmen I think would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Once you get, DJ, Rob, Reed, Edwards, and Bradshaw. But it seems like for now, you got to have the 2 older guys. So you got to go DJ and Antonio Reeves, and then that number 3 I think could be interesting. But then you'll have Trey Mitchell and Justin Edwards. So maybe Edwards at the 3, Trey Mitchell at the 4 if they want to play big with Bradshaw at the 5. I don't think Ugana's going to play, start any games, at least without any injury. I would think Bradshaw would start, or they'll just start Trey at the 5. I don't think they will. I think he's just kind of going to be more 4. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just positionless basketball at this point. You just gotta let those guys just go out there and run. I
think with this team, it can be positionless basketball. I think this is a good team to do it with. They bring just a different skill set than what we've seen over the last few years. A lot of people say this is Cal's actual recruiting team that this is what he used to have back in the day. So that's something to look forward to. My last point I wanted us to touch on before we head out of here is you kind of hit on it a minute ago. In terms of postseason expectations, I think last year going into it, I was of the category, I'm like, this has got to be Final Four bust. And, Final Four is extremely hard. That's not easy to do, clearly. I was a little lenient as it got closer to that time with Elite 8 or further. But I felt like the season before, right after St. Peter's, I was like, next postseason's got to be special, and it wasn't. Another kind of disappointment, even though we got that first win. I think that it gets a little bit harder this year. Last year should have been the postseason. You've done something. When you didn't, for me, my standards get a little bit harder for you. I mean, Cal, you're going too long before Kentucky fans are just going to let you have it. And like I said, Final Four bust is very hard to ask someone to do. I understand. But I think, he's got to be Final Four bust. Well, how do you feel about that? Where do you think this team needs to end for you to be happy?
I agree, man, especially, when you think about how much talent just came in, the number 1 class. He can maybe get another class, but it's hard to beat a class like this. And then you still have, who's going to be one of the best shooters, one of the best scorers in the SEC, and maybe even the nation, and Antonio Reeves. It's just, you got to put up points. You got to go out there and, be able to, score 65, 70 on anybody and maybe more. So I think Final Four bust is probably the expectation. I know fans are all about banners here, right? They want number 9, got to put up a banner, got to win a natty, which is fair, for this team. I'm not mad to think that, this needs to be a national title team, because it really should. When you look at it, I mean, other teams got talent with more experience, but this team, man, they probably, they're up there in top 5 in terms of just pure talent. And in March, when you've had 5 months under your belt, that prior year experience doesn't matter. These guys are going to be able to have said they can go through the battles. They went through the SEC and maybe won it. I don't think the SEC is going to be as tough as it was last year. or even 2 years ago, but it's always still a tough conference. Got to be Final Four, man. Let's get to Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, with the conference being tough, I mean, who's got more talent than us? Either we've got more talent than they do, or we're right there in the same ballpark. So, like, in a way, there's no excuse for getting a hot SEC team. Or, you know, I know the SEC has gotten better and better over the years. We used to dominate this conference in the tournament. Now we've got some challengers, but, like, still, who's out? We have the number one recruiting class. Who's out recruiting us? There's no really excuse besides having an off night if a player goes down there and goes cold or something. But, like, to the point now, like I said, it's you've gotten your quote excuses now, or not really excuses, but more of like you've gotten your licks, you've gotten the losses, you've got all this stuff that's happened to you year after year. At some point, this is Kentucky basketball. I mean, this isn't where it should be at. I don't know. I mean, you can go off in all of the conspiracy theories and all of the hot takes of it. Does Cal not have it anymore? Is this new landscape? You know, should he have gotten out when all the other coaches did, like Coach K? Roy, yeah. I don't think so. I do think there's a lot that he's not caught up on in terms of just adjusting with the times. I think he's trying to coach the way he did back in 10 years ago. But do I still think he's got one more good run? I do. Maybe that's just me being a homer. But if not, then, you know, something's got to change. It cannot be the same way it's been these last 3 seasons or 4 seasons or so. And Phoenix is looking about where it needs to be amid something crazy happening to this roster. Someone gets really injured. Let's hope nothing like that happens.
Yeah, and, you know, the thought about him, you know, falling behind or, you know, he doesn't have it anymore. You know, it's fair. I think he can eliminate that by just being more hands-off and just let those boys go. Let them run. You know, let them be a team. You know, forcing them into some, you know, 10 years old half-court set is just, you know, not going to work for these guys. They just got to go out there and run. They got to play their game. You got to trust them to make good decisions. You know, if they don't, then, you know, pull them, take them out of the game. You know, you got a bench that is available for you. You go 8 deep. So Cal's always says in his post-game pressers, like, if you don't do this, like, I'm going to pull you. Like, yeah, you're not getting minutes anymore. He will be strict on that, which he needs to teach the young guys a lesson. But at the end of the day, they'll get there. I think you guys probably had a better shot to go deep in the tournament 2 years ago with the Grady and them and Ty when they were healthy. Last year, I just didn't really see it for you guys. But at the end of the day, man, it's a new year. I think this is Cal's best shot. If he can't get it done with this year's team, I mean, he might as well just get off, run into the sunset now. He's got his lifetime deal, but you know, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to find a team better than this. This is his shot.
I'm right there with you. This is his team. Like, you know, if you pick the perfect Cal team, this recruiting class is his guys. So that's a very, I think it is all in this year. Now he's not going to be pushed out of town. He's got the whole lifetime deal. But yeah. I think at that point he should just, you know, if this doesn't do this year and right off in the sunset, maybe have a good self-reflection and maybe decide something, whatever that may be. I don't want to get into that because I just, you know, I wish in my perfect world Cal is going to be dominant here. He could be here forever. I never, you know, I'm scared to see what comes next. But, you know.
And the grass I know is greener on the other side, right? I mean, people wanted Cal fired, you know, after you lost to St. Peter's, and they wanted him fired after you lost, you know, in March in the second round. It's like, okay, you want to fire him, and then he takes his #1 recruiting class with him. It's like, oh, you guys want that? All right, have fun with that. So, I mean, I don't know who you want. You can't bring Patino back. You can't, you know, you can't get any. I mean, life is good with Cal. Just leave it there. But it's gonna be fun, man. Big Blue Madness Friday. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be there. You're gonna be there. Yeah. So, you know, and I guess we'll be back next week to give you guys some of your thoughts and I guess just keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's already here. I'm not jumping off football. I'm very much in there, but as a homer, I'm ready for this basketball season. Hopefully for a rejuvenated year. Let's find some success. Let's get back to Kentucky basketball. Thank you all for watching. We'll be here. As in terms of what our schedule is, we're trying to figure that out, what we're going to do consistently, but we're going to have a lot of basketball content for you all. So thanks for watching. Please keep up with us. Please share our stuff. Please go check out all of Michael's stuff at Fox 56. I mean, he's all over the TV, and he's covering more things than just Kentucky basketball. So take care of him, too, and keep up with him. And, Michael, I appreciate you being on here, man.
You too, brother, man. I'm excited. You know, Michael Epps TV on Twitter. You know, I try to just, you know, keep you guys updated with high school stuff. We have a lot of fun in this area, too. But, yeah, Cats Courtside. It's going to be fun.
Pretty good. Oh, I guess we're out. Thank you all.